Welcome back, and thanks for joining us for another episode. We're going to be talking today about some common IAM concepts we'll need to be aware of. And IAM, of course, stands for Identity Access Management.
I like it.
I know some things.
Yes.
I do know some things. I learn. So we've got a list of things we want to go through that have to do with identity and access management. So let's start with the idea of multi-factor authentication. This is something probably we see in our everyday lives at this point.
Well, fingers crossed.
Let's hope.
Let's hope to goodness right now that we all are using multi-factor authentication on anything that requires authentication. Yes? No? If not, pause, go fix that. Welcome back. And welcome to a more secure you. I'm glad to have you, as you've improved yourself. Anyway, yes, multi-factor authentication has kind of become the soup du jour of this day and age. So kind of like as we were kind of poking a little fun at, make sure that that stuff is enabled. But you say, well, what is it really? Maybe I'm not 100% familiar on what we mean when we say multi-factor. Sometimes you might hear it as 2FA or MFA, 2MFA or 2FA being two-factor authentication. Mm-hmm. Just means that instead of just my username and password to sign into something, I have something else that identifies me as me. It'll be something I have, something I am, right? A lot of times we'll think of it's going to be like a token. You might receive an SMS message. You might get an email, and we'll talk a bit about some of those things as well. But multi-factor authentication should be enabled on just about anything that you are logging into, especially if it is connected to the public network, which we lovingly refer to as the internet, right? So if that is happening, you need to have multi-factor of some ilk attached to your authentication mechanism for people gaining access into your systems. If not, stop the video, go do that now.
Go take care of that. That's your first priority. There's also this idea of single sign-on or SSO. So that's where, as a user, you can log into multiple apps in the same domain, right?
Oh yeah, we love SSO. Big deal. The SSO, it's really made a name for itself. You know, it's got pros and cons. The pros being, yes, if I go into, let's say my bank, right? If I log into my bank system, I can probably do a myriad of different things. And it might look like a seamless pane of glass, but a lot of times it's different applications running in the background. But my single sign-on, when I logged into that system, gave me access to all of those applications. And those applications can use that sign-on to authenticate me to those apps. It's a nice little thing. We love this. Now, the caveat here is that is within, like you say, the same domain. Doesn't kind of start cross-pollinating out there, going, oh, look over here and look over there, and I can use these things everywhere. Single sign-on does not necessarily mean that that is going to happen. Single sign-on is used in a mechanism that does allow for that, but just single sign-on properly, per se, itself does not facilitate that. It only allows the apps that are within those same domains to authenticate you across the board within that domain, within those confines. Now, this does take us into the idea of federation, federated services, federation or federated identity management, FIM, right? This is where you get the, let me ask you, Sophia, you ever go to like log into something, or you're maybe going to create a new account? Maybe you've heard of the cool new websites.
Sure.
And you want to go be a part of this.
Yeah, I'm
action.
trendy.
Yeah, yes, exactly, right? You're young and youthful and you do those things.
I do.
Whereas I'm an old curmudgeon and say, no.
Back in my day.
That's right. Back in my day, we didn't have these fancy websites. Yeah, hatred. Right? But she is obviously going to go do that. And you drop into that, you go, oh yeah, I want to be a part of this. You hit either, register or whatever. Mm-hmm. You ever see that thing where it says, log in using your Google.
Yes,
Log in using
all the
your
time.
Facebook.
Or Twitter, or whatever. Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Federated Services.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay, I didn't know that had a name.
Right, yes, this is federated identity management at its best. Now, single sign-on is a component of federated identity management, or federation, but it is not the big cheese like what we're talking about, where I can now, across domains, because you do not own the website that you are trying to register with, you are not a part of it yet. Now, you can create an identity with them, because a lot of times they have that option and say, hey, well, if you like to register with us through our registration mechanism, you can. But we accept registrations from people that are already signed up to services like Google, like Twitter, like Facebook, like so on and so forth. And that's because there are identity providers in the world. Companies like Okta, OpenID Connect, Azure Active Directory. We can use those sign-ons that we have and we use for single sign-on purposes as well, right? So that's where they kind of fit together. It's kind of an umbrella of FIM, and underneath that is SSO, right? But if I have apps and services or service providers from other domains, I now can utilize my federated ID to gain access to those things. And that's because those apps and service providers don't authenticate the users within themselves. They use the identity providers, the IDPs, to make that happen. So Okta is a huge company. It's probably the largest, right? OpenID Connect's another really big one. They use that, and that's how we're able to go, sign in with Google. Boom, I'm done. Love it. Amazing. This makes my life. It's a very nice thing. Now, we're talking security here, right? Recently, Okta has had a problem where they had a breach.
Oh.
Yeah, right. If you do go through one of these, for the lack of a better term, we'll use an idea of single signing on. If I'm using one thing to kind of go across domains, everything, if anybody has access to my account, they now have access to all of those things. Right? So there's a pros and cons.
Yeah.
Right? Pros and
Sliding
cons.
scale, right?
That's exactly right. There's a lot of ease of use here, and they do a pretty darn good job, most of these companies do, of making sure that this stuff is secure and safe. But
You take a risk.
if ever, that's right, there is not a zero risk to using this. Okay, so that's the security aspect behind both single sign-on and FIM. So just keep that in mind. It's a lovely thing. We like it, but it's not foolproof.
I love when I learn about something and I realize I've been using it every day in my
Yeah.
life. Like I'm like, FIM, what is that? Oh, now I know.
Right. Oh, the thing.
This is, yeah.
You know.
Oh, you know the thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But this one is not familiar to me. Maybe, I don't know, maybe it's the same thing. Maybe I'm already using this. Privileged Access Management, or PAM.
Okay, PAM. Yeah. Sometimes you'll see PAM in another context within Linux. They call it PAM as well. That's how you control users as far as what they can access and their password and how that should work. But privileged access management in general is kind of, it is a lot of things. It's a process. It is an idea. It is a framework in which we kind of use, and it helps us enforce the principle of least privilege. Right? So if Sophia and you and I are all inside of an organization or on an enterprise network, and she works in finance and you work in HR and I'm on the C-suite, because why not, right? It's my fantasy. I can be what I like, right?
Nice.
Yes, that's how it goes. But you don't need access to what I do, and I don't need access to what she does, and vice versa, right? Oh, that just wouldn't make sense to allow that, because if you start kicking around in a finance department, you could make a mistake, and that would be a financial mistake, and that would have consequences for probably all of us in the generating a resume kind of way. That wouldn't be good, right? So I wouldn't give you access if I was the IT administrator to the finance department. Well, welcome to privileged access management. You do not need access to that, therefore you do not get access to that. If you ever need something to be done there, you ask Sophia to do it, and she does it for you because that's her job role, right? So we break these things down. It's kind of a comprehensive approach to privileged access. That's the idea behind PAM. So we want to control, we want to audit and monitor all privileged identities and activities. And this includes both human and non-human identities and activities. So you might be asking yourself, non-human? How are non-humans?
All of our robot employees. that
Yes,
work
we
here.
do have many.
All the droids we've got in the building.
They work great and they're cheap. Right?
It's true.
So we like our robot employees. But ultimately what that means is something like a service account. Right? So if I have a software service and it has a user account so that it can run and do certain things, I would need to control, audit, and monitor any privileged access that thing would have, maybe even to itself and to other things. And we love this idea. I think of SC Linux a lot of times, or your iPhone, right? The little apps inside your iPhone typically can't talk to the other apps. They don't go app jumping, going, hey, what are you doing over there? I don't know, what's up in your world? That's not how it works, and for good reason. That keeps it more secure. If you can't cross boundaries, it makes it a lot more difficult for an attacker to do the same thing. right? So human stuff that we need to be identities and activities, that's going to be your root or admin accounts, both at the domain and local levels, right? Think SSH accounts, so anybody that can SSH into something, and the underlying keys or passwords that go along with that stuff. Service accounts, we already mentioned that. API keys, another one. Those are secrets that we want to control, audit, and monitor to keep them out of the hands of the bad guys. Unfortunately, this is apparently a real hard thing to do because welcome to complex systems. Things slip through the cracks. With PAM, kind of helps us keep an eye on those things and hopefully keep that from happening as often, and ultimately at the end of the day, one day, never would be great. Now, this is accomplished by implementing controls such as mandatory key or secrets rotation for privilege access of any kind. We don't keep a key around for too long. I will serve no key before it's time, right? If you get that reference, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. All right. I know. Sophia's just, I don't get that one, but I know some of you out there do. That's a good one. All right. And secrets, that was your password, right? Rotate passwords. We must have a policy for doing that, working that. Now, we've implemented some strategies out there to help lower that and still have good security around it, but like things like 2FA, right? Help with that. But other things we can do is isolate sensitive assets, push them off into their own little enclave, secret, safe, secure, right? If they're not got traffic going in and out of it, it'd be a hard time for them, attackers, to blend in with the crowd, as it were, right? Anything that would be happening on that would be immediately or much more quickly discovered. And of course, enable things like MFA. This is going to wrap another layer of security. Remember, this is the principle of least privilege. Therefore, if I don't have that MFA token, and then of course, once I have that, what do I have access to? Am I monitoring to make sure that that is occurring? If not, do I get access? Because this isn't, you get the idea, right? So PAM is a really good way in which it's a holistic approach to access, or privileged access management, access to certain things that are secret and safe and should stay that way.
There's also the concept of just going passwordless in some cases, and I would imagine that's where some of these other authentication factors come in, like biometrics and tokens and things like that, because like you were talking earlier, like having a username and password is probably not secure enough. You've got to have something else. But in this case, it sounds like maybe some places are just ditching passwords altogether.
That's where we would like to go. I mean, we've long known the weaknesses behind the username and password, right? But it still holds up to this day because we've had a hard time replacing it, honestly. There hasn't been a good alternative to that just because the infrastructure hasn't been there, the technology hasn't existed. But now we're starting to push into those realms where you can go passwordless. You might use something like possession factors or magic links, biometrics. These are much better solutions than a password. It's not something you have to remember or could be stolen easily. It can be stolen, but not easily, right? So think of things like possession factors. These are authenticator apps. You know, I've got 2 authenticator apps on my device. Do you have an authenticator app on your?
I do. I do.
Right? Everybody's carrying a phone around with them. Slap an app on that bad boy, and then you tie your phone to that, your authenticator app, should I say. You go to log in. It says, "Hey, what's the authentication code on your authenticator app?" Well, it's this. And you're in. You love it. It's great. Or if you even want to go even more simplistic, hardware tokens like a YubiKey. Okay, I have the key in my hand. I hold the power. It's right here. Oh no, I dropped it down the sewer grate. Oh no. Right, obviously pros and cons, right, to every little thing that we do. But I just slap that YubiKey in and it serves as my authenticator to whatever system I'm trying to log into. Of course, there's also one-time passwords via something like SMS. This is probably one of the more or less desirable possession factor, but it can be used. It is possible. It's just probably the least amount of security with this improved security. It's the least secure of the improved securities.
And these would all fall under the category of something you have, right? Because there's like something you know, something you are, something you have, right?
Yes. I think a one-time password might fall under something you know.
Okay.
Right?
Gotcha.
Because it's not a physical thing. It's not in your hand.
That's
Whereas
true.
like a
token,
a YubiKey is something you have
gotcha.
with you, right? Your phone is something you have with you. I don't know whether that counts
Because then does the text count as
Yeah, I
something
know.
you have?
Some of
or
these
is it-
things get like a little crazy and like,
Yeah, you could get real niche with it.
yeah, if you look into these things a little more deeply than we are going here, but you'll probably uncover whether or not what rubric that falls under. But I don't know if they're going to give you that deep on any kind of questionnaire that you might fall under.
Yeah, let's hope not.
Yeah.
I would imagine something you are, or like biometrics
That's a
would be like maybe the strongest form, because that's got to be like impossible to replicate
It's not impossible.
or difficult,
but it's
very
tough.
difficult. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. Yeah, there's like these gummies that you can make, and they'll have fingerprints. You can do fingerprinting with that.
Oh,
Yeah, they work just like a charm. It's crazy.
that's great. Okay.
Yeah, so if I lift a fingerprint, I would be able to replicate a fingerprint, which is something you are, but that's a lot of work. You got to want that one.
Yeah.
Right? You got to want that. But yeah, biometrics are great. Fingerprints, iris scans, facial recognition, right? These are the things that we use, voice recognition.
Yeah.
That would be biometric measures that you could possibly replace your password with.
Out of curiosity, when you like on my laptop that I used to have in high school,
Mm-hmm.
there was a webcam on the front, and so when I logged in, I could either type in a PIN or it would check my face to make sure it was me. Would that count as a biometric thing?
Yeah, that'd be biometric.
Okay,
Yeah,
just
that's it.
curious.
Because your face is unique to you. For the most part, you know,
Let's hope,
everybody's
yeah.
got a doppelganger out there, right?
There's no one out there like me,
Right.
Daniel.
Yeah,
So okay, that's interesting. So I've been using biometrics for a while.
yeah.
Neat.
And then the last one would be magic links,
Okay.
right? Don't forget those. Fun. Magic links are when they're like, hey, we sent you an email, click the link in the email. And I know it's like, oh, now I'm at a crossroads, because for security, I always say, don't ever click links in emails.
That's true.
If you know like to expect an email and it immediately comes in and it has a link in it, that one's probably, I'll let that slide. Generally, the rule is don't click links in emails, because that's just an unsafe practice. But if I just hit register or log me in and it said I sent you a link and an email pops up and it has a link in it from that, it's a pretty good possibility that that's the one you're looking for, and it'd be all right.
Okay.
So yeah, you just click that link. Actually, I think for like was it Yahoo? For Yahoo, I do not log in on my smart device at all. I go to log in and it sends me a thing and it just says, "Is this you?" And I click it, and I'm done. It's probably just a fancy magic link, but
Gmail does something similar.
Yeah,
Or
Gmail does something
because
similar.
YouTube and
You're
Gmail
right.
and all that are connected. So
Yep.
if you're trying to log into Gmail to say we sent
hey,
a notification
are you logging in
to your YouTube app,
from
and you have to
Gainesville,
click
Florida?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives me my little address and everything. Yeah. Okay, so all of these factors can contribute to maybe some companies or some places trying to go passwordless, which ultimately might be a goal.
Nailed it.
Potentially, maybe. So then we also want to talk about, lastly, Cloud Access Security Broker, or CASB.
A CASB.
I've never heard of this. This is new.
This is new for you. Okay, well, cloud is kind of the thing, right? It's a big deal. I don't know if you knew that. That's where we're going. It's where we kind of are, and that is for the foreseeable future. Okay. So what a CASB does is a Cloud Access Security Broker. This enables cloud admins to apply security to all your cloud services under one pane of glass, as it were, right? So this gives you very granular control over things like device connections. We live in BYOD environments. Everybody, like this is not a company phone. This is my phone.
Mm-hmm.
But if I want to connect it to our Microsoft 365 account, should they have the ability, they being ACL Learning, should they have the ability to control security in some way, shape, or form, since I now have a device that's connecting to their Wi-Fi, connecting to their network resources? Of course they should. That just makes sense. It's kind of a concession that we make for the privilege of bringing my own device into the workforce, right? We have to have a little give and take, a little compromise, right? Everybody kind of walks away a winner. Everybody gets everything they want, but everybody gets a little bit. It's a nice way to go. But now with CASB, I can say, okay, if you're using that, I can kind of help you do that control. I can help you apply those security measures. Any cloud apps you're using, like Microsoft 365, you need some security on that? No problem. I can help you with security on that. Give you some control. What can go in? What can come out? I'm monitoring. I'm looking into these things, and I'm helping alert you to potential issues or stopping issues that I have the ability to stop. Things like data sharing and loss prevention is another thing they can control, like DLP, right? If you have email, this is how I kind of describe DLP, because it's one of the more common ways. If I have sensitive information inside of that email, like social security numbers, a DLP mechanism built into my CASB, control management system will go, hey, that looks a lot like a social security number. Let me obfuscate that. Or let me just remove it. It's out. And you go, cool. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to do anything. But my administrators, they definitely are concerned with what data is going in and out and what's being shared. So CASB can help us with that. Other features that they have is like encryption and key management, user and entity behavior analytics, also called UEBA. This is great for threat prevention. Hey, Sophia's doing something she doesn't normally do. How do you know that, CASB? Because I watch everything you do. It's a little weird. It's a little creepy. But it's for the greater good, as we like to say, right? Shaun of the Dead, right there. Shaun of the Dead, right? For the greater good, as it were. So they can implement that. They also can do malware detection, configuration auditing, lots of really good control security-wise when it comes to using a CASB.
CASB the friendly ghost.
CASB,
Absolutely.
like that.
CASB the friendly
That's
stalker.
good.
So there's 4 pillars of CASB we need to know about, right?
Yes.
Okay.
4 pillars of CASB. Ready for that? Visibility. 1, the who, what, when, where, why, and how are cloud services being used? It wants to answer that question for the purposes of control, audit, monitoring, so on and so forth, right? The CASB should be able to control these conditions. So that's why visibility is such a pillar, as it were, to the 4 pillars of CASB.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's almost like they chose the name for a reason.
I know. It's
That's
like
crazy.
it's like a stanchion.
It upholds CASB.
Yes, it does.
So that's pillar number 1.
Yes.
What's pillar number 2?
Pillar number 2. You ready for this? Compliance. This is like a big deal for us. It makes our lives. Anybody that's been through GRC or does GRC, right? I shudder at the thought. Some people enjoy it. My friend Jerry, he loves it. I'm not that guy, right? Compliance is hard. It's time consuming. It's tedious. So when I have a CASB that has built-in regulatory compliance mechanisms that goes, oh, you're in PCI world? Cool. Let me apply PCI magic to, oh, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem, there's a problem. Let me fix. Welcome to compliance. And I go, I love you, CASB. You are my best friend ever. May we never part. So compliance is the other, one of the 4 big pillars.
Then pillar number 3, data security.
Yeah. Where would we be in the security world if data security was not like a thing?
Not secure.
Exactly.
sure.
And CASB would be standing over there all by itself going, well, yeah, I don't do
Only
data-
3 pillars.
I don't do data security. I'm a 3-legged stool.
Yeah.
Right? Don't kick out any one of these legs if we're going down hard. Right? So yes, data security, think of things like encryption, DLP kind of comes back to mind. That it is securing your data and helping you manage, audit, and control that.
And that 4th pillar that completes the stool,
Number 4.
threat protection.
Yes. Protection, prevention, whatever.
Did I? Okay.
No, either or. It's
Okay.
an either or kind of thing. UEBA, we mentioned that before. This comes under this pillar, as well as the malware detection and analysis that can be done through many of your CASB solutions. So threat protection, again, we love that. This is all the security stuff, right? That's the security part of the security of the S in CASB. Make sense?
Makes sense. Okay.
There
So
you go, 4 pillars.
4 pillars of the House of CASB.
We're done.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe put that on a flashcard or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. So there you go. That's it's going to round out our discussion on some common identity and access management concepts that you'll need to know. Thank you so much for walking us through this, Daniel. I can tell this is your life's work. This is your
It's my
swan
magnum
song.
opus.
This is the peak that you will reach. So thank you for joining us for this episode on some common IAM concepts, and we'll see you next time.